Hey everyone, Brooke here. So today's idea for my video actually came from a viewer, and she had asked a question that just really resonated and hit home with me. I wanted to take some time to chat with you guys with my honest answer to her questions. And the question was about guilt, and specifically she wanted to know if I struggle with feeling like I don't deserve things now that Libby died, or if it bothers me when I am enjoying something or feeling joy, or when I buy things or do things because Libby's no longer here. And my honest answer to that question is yes. I feel that guilt every single day. And I want to talk about why and what I do about it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Stay tuned. So to explain this a little bit, I think I have to go back and give you some context if you are new to the channel or you don't know about my life. 3 years ago, my life was completely different. I was in my second marriage and I had 3 kids and I had a stepson. So most days we had a house with 6 people in it that was always bustling and go, go, go. And I was working full time as a teacher, but also doing like the full-time mom thing where I was driving my kids around everywhere and going to soccer practices and dance practices and making dinner for everyone and getting everyone tucked in. And it was just, if you've ever been in that situation, you know how exhausting it is. So like most moms, I think I dreamed of having time to myself. I longed for the days when I would be able to sit down and read a book and relax and not have to worry about what everybody else needed all the time. I felt like I was perpetually exhausted and on the go. And it was hard. And then my 10-year-old daughter, Libby, died in a car accident. And everything in my life changed in the blink of an eye. Within a year, I was divorced from my second marriage because that had been on its last leg, and I couldn't handle the stress of that relationship along with grieving my daughter. And my 2 sons graduated, one from college, one from high school, and I was left an empty nester, basically. I was left in a big old house pretty much by myself. And like flipping a switch, my whole identity changed. So all of that time that I had been wishing for and hoping for, and all those moments when I had just, like, I just want to sit down and read and have a cup of coffee and relax. Suddenly I had all the time in the world to do that. And it's weird. I have free time that frankly I have no right to have and shouldn't have had for another 8 years or so until my daughter graduated. And the truth is, if I'm being brutally honest, which you guys know I always am, I love it. I love living by myself in my little tiny house. I love that I can have a stressful teaching day, which is pretty much every day, and I can come home now and I can sit on my sofa and read a book. And I don't have to worry about running anyone anywhere. And I don't have to make dinner for anyone. I can eat whatever I want. I can watch whatever I want. But to answer this viewer's question completely, while I love it, there is not a second that goes by that I don't also feel guilty about it. Because the only reason that I have this life now is because I lost my daughter. And I'm sure if you've lost anyone that you love, that you know you'd do anything in the world to get them back. I would give this up in a heartbeat and go back happily to those days of running around like a chicken with my head cut off. Because really, I loved being a mom. I felt like I was good at it. And I love being Libby's mom. And I still love being a mom to my boys, but they're older and it's different. And if you've had any kids leave the house, go off to college, start their own lives, it becomes different. I had to take my son Grayson, he was sick, and I had to take him to urgent care the other day. And I weirdly loved spending the day at urgent care with my son because I felt like mom. I felt like I was doing something. I was like, oh, he actually needs me for something. And that felt amazing. So, yeah, most of the joy in my life now also comes with a heavy dose of guilt. And I know that that is only hurting me. I tell myself that all the time. I tell you guys that all the time, that any guilt that you have, you're only hurting yourself. And that's it. But I feel guilty that I enjoy the way that I live now. I feel guilty that I wrote a book and that book is doing good things for other people. And I love the fact that I'm helping people. It's sad that the only reason that I ended up writing that book, which I wanted to write my entire life, was because I lost my daughter. I love doing this YouTube channel and I love being a speaker and I love having my podcast and being guest on podcasts and doing all the social media stuff. And I love it. And I feel like I'm pretty good at it. But would I have done any of this if Libby hadn't died? No. And that sucks. So for me, this life is a very strange tug of war between knowing that I deserve to be happy. I deserve to find some joy. Everyone does, especially when they've gone through as much shit as I have. But then on the other side, it's the tug of feeling like I wouldn't have any of this if it weren't for her. And, it pours salt in the wound every day of her not being here because I'd much rather have her here with me. When the viewer asked about, if I feel guilty buying things for myself, I would say that's not quite as bad. It's more of pretty much any time I'm out shopping for literally anything from groceries to, being at Target or whatever, I see something. I see a million things every time I'm shopping that I would have bought for Libby that I either would have gotten for her or if she would have been with me, she would have been asking me for it. We would have been, shopping together, getting things for her. And if you're a mom, like I always bought more stuff for my kids than I bought for myself because you just like giving stuff to your kids and and I loved knowing what they enjoyed and what would make them smile and make them happy. So it's not that I feel bad buying things for myself because in all honesty, I don't buy that many things for myself. Like I said, I live in a tiny house. There's not a lot of room. So so other than kind of like practical things, I'm not buying anything super fancy. I always see stuff that reminds me of her that I wish I could be buying her instead. And it's like that with everything. I mean, I wish, whether it's buying her stuff or whatever, like I wish I could be dumping all of my time and love and energy into her instead of everything else that I'm doing with my life now. So for me, guilt is, and I think for many grieving parents or grieving people in general, guilt's kind of a constant companion and you have to learn how to get a hold of it and talk yourself out of it more than anything. Sometimes it's small things like things at the store. Sometimes it's big things like when I went to speak in New Orleans and took the boys along, like, again, amazing time on that vacation, but every ounce of joy comes with that tinge of guilt because she's not there to enjoy it. And it's really, really hard to separate that happiness from the ache and regret of your person not being there. So if you're struggling with this too, I want you to know I say it constantly. I know it's probably annoying at this point, but you're not alone. And it is totally normal to feel that way. I think anyone who's been through this kind of loss knows it's not easy to let ourselves be happy. And I know that you guys know that the reality is that when you feel those simple joys, a lot of times they feel like a betrayal. You feel like, should I be allowed to be enjoying myself? Does this mean I'm forgetting her? Of course it doesn't. Like we know that. Like we know it, right? It's internalizing that feeling, and I think it's human nature, and I think it's natural that those feelings pop up. And while I know that, and I'm sure you know it rationally, you also know how hard it is to get out of that mindset. So it's something that I've learned to live with day by day. More than anything, I want people to know that wanting to enjoy your life and wanting to feel happy, it's not selfish in any way. It's not wrong. You know, we need to give ourselves permission to try to live fully. But again, saying that and knowing that rationally doesn't make the feelings just disappear, does it? And I don't have any perfect fixes to offer you. I wish I did. I do have some suggestions if this is how you were feeling. If you're feeling like this viewer that asked me this question. So, yeah, my answer is yes, I do feel that way. Yes, it's normal. Will it ever go away? I don't know. But it is something that you can learn to live with. And the things that have helped me are what I will share with you now. So, my suggestions: give yourself permission to live with both grief and joy, and guilt and joy, all three of them. Throw them all in there. Allowing your emotions to coexist is a lot of times the healthiest way to deal with things. So it's okay to feel joy one minute and sadness and guilt the next. The next suggestion, and this is probably the one that's helped me the most. A really good YouTuber, I feel like, would be like, watch till the end for the best suggestion. But I'll give it to you now because it weirds me out when people do that. The thing that has helped me the most is learning in the moments when I'm having joy and I start to feel that twinge of guilt, um, is honoring her memory and the memories that I have. So what I mean by that, like for an example, when I was in New Orleans, and I think I talked about this in another video, but I'll tell you again. So we went on um, a swamp tour where we saw like alligators and stuff. We were on like a swamp boat, and it was awesome. It was the most fun thing that we did in New Orleans, and everybody was loving it. But it was one of those like I'd be like, "This is so fun," and then it'd be like, "Oh, knife in the heart. Libby's not here. She would have loved this," and it's super mixed emotions. I got very emotional about that. But then I changed my mindset. I literally had to talk to myself and say, "You're being stupid. You have this great time with your sons. Libby would be happy that you had that good time with them." So I recognized how I was feeling and I told myself to knock it the hell off. Like, don't ruin this day. And honoring her memory to me was me thinking to myself, changing that mindset, shifting it around and saying, you know what? While we were on that boat, I could almost picture her sitting there. I could picture her laugh. I could picture her smile. And isn't it awesome that I have enough beautiful memories of her doing cool things that I could picture that in my head, that I know how she would have reacted because that's how she reacted to other times we were out on a boat or doing something fun together. And then I tried to be grateful that I had those memories and then I could still picture exactly what she would have thought. Does it make it perfect? Does it make it go away? No. But with the mindset shift, though it takes work, is really helpful for me. And I try to do that when those kind of things happen. The next thing I would say is try to talk it out if you can. If you have someone that you can call or text or whatever, just to say it out loud to someone, sometimes just venting those feelings makes such a huge difference. And again, I know I always say this too, but show yourself some compassion. Um, think of how, if a friend were telling you what you are feeling, how you would talk to that friend and what would you say to that person. You would tell them to enjoy what they could and that they shouldn't feel guilty about it and that their person would have wanted them to be happy. We know all those things because we tell them to someone else who is suffering. And sometimes we forget to tell those things to ourselves. And again, I know you can tell yourself and it doesn't make it easy. It doesn't like, oh, okay, I'm going to tell myself and all of a sudden I'm going to believe it and I'm going to feel better. It doesn't work that way. But the more you get used to doing that, the easier it really does become. So anyway, I know this was just sort of me rambling, but viewer, I hope that that answers your question and shares a little bit of how I feel and how I deal with those feelings. Thank you for letting me share this with you, and I would love to hear your comments and thoughts and how you feel. Do you go through this? Do you have the guilt? Do you feel guilty buying yourself things? Do you feel guilty for enjoying parts of your life now that your person is gone? I think the more we say these things out loud, the less guilty we'll feel about feeling them. So if you want to share, that would be awesome. All right. Sending love and hugs as always. Again, if anyone else has any questions for me, any videos you want me to make, anything you want me to talk about, leave it in the comments. I am so happy to do that. I am here for you guys. So anything you want to see, let me know. All right. See you next week.